Good morning, Charlie Flight. My name is Cadet Holt, and I'm your academic officer for the week. I'm going to go ahead and cover all the things we're going over in Leadership Lab tomorrow very quickly, and you can learn them more in depth tomorrow, but this is a general glimpse and overview as to what we're covering. I've gone in order of our activities for the day, so starting off with IEDs, UXOs, TCCC, and stuff. So, getting straight into it, we're starting off with our IED UXO. What does that stand for? Improvised explosive device and unexploded ordnance. These are your bombs that the enemy or people that don't like us will go ahead and plant, right? So when dealing with IEDs, we have a method for that called the 5 C's, okay? The first one is confirm. I've spotted an IED, it's right there. So I've confirmed that it is an IED. I will move on to clear, which is to move away, it's to back up. Bombs blow up, and I've heard they hurt pretty bad. So you don't want to be there when they blow up. You want to move your forces and your airmen away from that bomb right away. Ideally, 300 meters. No, I think it's 100 meters, 300 feet, something like that. Okay. Then you want to go ahead and cordon it off. So cordon is security pretty much. It's a big circle around that bomb where you're all spaced out and you're all watching that bomb. Because you don't want people that shouldn't be going in that area or people that don't know about that bomb to go in that area, right? So you have all your guys around the bomb, and you're making sure that people don't go in, and that the bomb is secure, nobody touches it, all that. Then you go ahead and check. You may want to check. So that's looking for more IEDs. Usually, where there's one IED, there will be more. So you look for more in the check, and then finally you move on to control, which is maintaining your cordon. So you have the big circle still, and you're making sure that nobody goes in, nobody goes out. It's a repeat of cordon pretty much, making sure that's still established and still around. After you've gone through all the 5 C's, you deliver what's called a 9 line, which is done via radio. And the 9 line is your kind of format of communication for these things. It has 9 lines, as the name suggests, and you'll learn more about that in LLAB, but I'll show you the process of how to do that. So you'll get a big piece of paper, and it says, it has all your things right there that you'll read out. The most important thing you do when doing a 9 line is you want to write down your 9 line first. You don't want to just read the card and rattle it off. So what you'll see me doing tomorrow, I'll have my phone out with my notes app, and I'll be writing stuff down, oh, this goes in line 1, this goes in line 2, etc., etc., etc. Because when you have a radio right here, or a walkie-talkie, only one person can talk at a time, and there will be a ton of people that are on the radio. So they're all trying to talk at one time, and only one person can go. So you don't want to clog up that net. You don't want to stop communication because you're being you don't know what you're saying. So write down what you want to say, then you go ahead and transmit, number 2. So you give the command break twice, and break means to go ahead and stop talking on the radio. You have a very important message that you have to go ahead and send, so it's telling other people to hold off and let you speak. You're talking to BDOC, which is Base Defense Operational Control, or Command, I'm pretty sure, which is a fun fact. You don't actually have to know that. And then you give the command, stand by for UXO 9 line. After you've done that, you very importantly wait for a response. Because if you're just rattling off your 9 line and you don't know if they're listening, you're wasting your time, you're wasting theirs, and everybody on the net. So after you have a response, you transmit what you've written down. And then you say break after each line that you give to go ahead and give them a break to go ahead and cut in, or to give them the signal that you're done with that one line and that you're moving on to the next, okay? So to go ahead and put it all into action, 5 C's, I found the IED, I back up, I cordon off. Hey guys, get around that bomb right there. I check, where are more IEDs? Found one up there. And then you go ahead and control that cordon that you have. Then you go ahead and get your 9 line out. I'm writing down what I want to say. Blah, 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 blah. I have it down. I get on my radio. I hold down my PTT, my push to talk. I go ahead and transmit. Break, BDOC, stand by for UXO 9 line report. They'll be send your 9 line report. I'll be line 1, Alpha, break. Line 2, Bravo, break. Line 3, Charlie, break. Not as fast as that, but you get the idea. You want to give them time to write it all down too, and actually get it. And then, your 9 line will finish. they'll be like, wow, great job. You're the greatest. I have to admit, you're the greatest cadet in this entire program. You know radio protocol better than anybody. And you'll be like, I know, because Cadet Holt taught me. And I'll be very proud. Next, TCCC and March. March is a part of TCCC. TCCC stands for Tactical Combat Casualty Care. That's the first aid that you go ahead and render whenever an airman is like injured or, is bleeding out, stuff like that. That's what you do before the actual surgeons arrive to make sure they don't die in the meantime. So that's TCCC. And then you go ahead and break it down into your steps with March. That stands for massive hemorrhage. Give me a sec. So these are actually listed in order of importance. And importance in this case means most likely to kill you the fastest, right? So massive hemorrhage is you're bleeding. That's like you're active bleeding from a limb. Like I was shot in my thigh. It ruptured an artery. I'm dying right here. Help me out. That's massive hemorrhage. So you put a tourniquet on that. You stop the bleeding however you can. And it can be a hasty tourniquet. Whatever you have to do to go ahead and just cease the bleeding. Airway. Make sure they're still breathing. You look in their mouth. Make sure their neck isn't clogged or their throat isn't clogged. Sorry. And if it is, you try and get that thing out. Or if they can't breathe, you put a like an NPA thing down there. I think I don't know. It's not important. Respirations. That's you making sure their chest still works and their lungs. So you put your hands on their chest, and if their right lung goes up and their left lung does not, it looks like the left lung ruptured. They're gonna die, bro. But that's respirations, making sure they're still actively breathing and their chest still works. It's all good. They're very similar, but this is the throat, this is the chest. Circulations. Here's where Here's where you refine what you did up here. So if you have a hasty tourniquet on them and it's not super tightened or it's not super neat, you go ahead and fix that tourniquet and make it from hasty into deliberate. You want to go ahead and pack their wound with gauze to preserve their flesh, make sure it doesn't like rot and do all this yucky stuff and all that. And then head injury and hypothermia. Make sure their eyes are okay. They're, not cohesive. They're still like thinking. They're coherent. Make sure there's no like weird fluids coming out of their ears or their eyes or their nose. Their eyes are looking okay and normal. And then hypothermia. If they're cold, put a blanket on them. Moving on to small unit tactics, or SUT. This concerns your airman movement. This concerns how you treat civilians and bad guys and how you deal with them and all of that. So starting off with the 5 S's right there. These are used when you're trying to de-escalate with a civilian or with anybody. So last semester, I was on base defense during LLAB, and I had to go ahead and act as a guard, and there were people trying to enter the fob that should not be going into the fob. So I used these. It stands for shout, show, shove, shoot to warn, shoot to incapacitate. I did spell that right. Okay. So bad guys pulling up, or like a civilian that shouldn't be there. I'm like, number 1, I do shout. I'm like, hey, stop! You can't be here. Restricted area, right? And then if they don't listen to your shout, you show. I have a gun. It's airsoft. It works. You show them your gun, show them that you're armed, and that should hopefully deter them. If it is not, and they're like right up against you, you go ahead and shove. You physically move them away or restrain if you need to. Restrain. That's a new thing they added on. Anyway, or restrain. If that doesn't work and they're like actively coming at you and posing a threat to your life, if that doesn't work and they're not posing a threat to your life, you shoot to warn. So shoot at the ground near them. Bang. Like one time, let them know that gun works and that you're armed and that you will shoot to incapacitate if you need to. And then if they're actively posing a threat to your life, or if they're not complying with the shoot to warn, you shoot to incapacitate. You shoot them. Ideally not to kill, but if they're posing an active threat to your life and you need to do what you got to do, you do what you got to do. So try to go non-lethal on that if you can. It's all about de-escalation. Technically escalation. Sorry, escalation. But you start off de-escalated and you have to go from there. So that is the 5 S's right there. I am free to answer any questions about that. And then you have formation movement, which we'll be doing a bit of patrolling tomorrow, so this is pretty important. This also takes into account IEDs over there, so very important that we're covering this. When you're in a formation, you want to go ahead and space out. These guys are walking together after PT, okay? They're all close. They're within like a foot of each other on the sides. And this guy right here steps on an IED. They're all dead now. Or they're all incapacitated because they are too close together, right? Very bad. But these two guys right here, they're work buddies, they're fellow cadets, and they're spaced out because they respect one another, right? And this guy steps on an IED, but because there's spacing there, he is still alive. So that should be about like 15, anywhere from like 10 to 15 to 20 meters. But the idea is, if the guy in front of you steps on a bomb, you don't die. He dies. So you want to make sure that you have your spacing. Next, sectors of fire. So I have 2 formations right here. We have the wedge right here. Wedge. And the staggered column. So the one I want to go ahead and harp on is the staggered column. So what is a sector of fire? That is where you're looking, right? So these guys are up in the front. They're looking to the front. And you'll notice there are 2 lines here. So there are very clear sectors of fire. This guy watches to our front and to our right. He watches to our front and to our left. He watches to our left. He watches to our rear and our left. He watches to our rear and our right. All of that. You have, like, in a staggered column, you know where you're looking. You have your sector of fire established, and it's fantastic, okay? We have 2 lines here, because it also helps out spacing. So if he steps on an IED, he doesn't die, he doesn't die. Or they don't die, they don't die. So, it's huge for spacing too. We usually use this formation on roads, or like tomorrow we'll be walking on, sidewalks and pathways and all that. So if I were flight commander, I'd put you all in that formation right there, because it allows for really good spacing and really good established and easy to follow sectors of fire. Up here's a wedge. We probably won't use this tomorrow, but this is mostly for open fields. So if we're crossing an open field, it of course has spacing right there. And, it also has really good sectors of fire. So, he's watching to our right and to our rear. He's watching to our front and to our right. He's watching to our front and all of that. Well, just our front pretty much. And same for the left side over here. Trying to keep it very short and concise for y'all. But the sectors of fire are established and they're all spaced out. This is pretty advanced though, because it's mostly for the Army. Like if they take contact from the front, they would all move up to the guy at the front and get online, and they would like fire and move and bound and all that. We're the Air Force. We're in air-conditioned hotels that are 5-star, so we don't really worry about that. But that's the formation that I would use for the open field movement. So like the area before the NPR where the parking garage is, that big open grass field, I would use a wedge for that. But these are the 2 that we should really know and harp on. You also have, a column like that where they're all spaced out in one big line. But we probably won't use that. So that's been my little lecture, my video essay today. And I hope you all enjoyed. If you have any questions, let me know. And I'll also put this in document format very soon. So I will see you all tomorrow, and have a wonderful rest of your day.